What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tim the Credit Tech here. Recently, I posted a testimonial video of my guy, Brian, who I helped get $45,000 in personal and business credit. Now, a lot of people have had challenges when they were applying for credit, whether they were trying to get an increase or they were trying to just apply for new credit, and they kept getting denied. Now, there were four major mistakes that I realized that people were making, and some you might have actually experienced yourself. So in this video, I'm going to go over the four mistakes and how to overcome them. So the first things first, you have to make sure that your credit is in order to receive funding. What does that mean? We can't have any late payments. We can't have any high utilization. We definitely have to make sure that our personal information is correct. Just with those three alone, late payments, they drop your score anywhere between 50, 90, 100, all the way up to 150 points plus, right? And then you also have your name. If you have on your account unmatched names, like my name is Timothy Young. I don't got no juniors, but let's just say I had a Timothy Young Jr. and his information was on my account and my information was on his account. That's a problem. So you have to make sure that your personal account is lined up. That also means that your addresses have to look right. That also means any names that you have on that account, any information that pertains to you, it has to line up across the board from all consumer reporting agencies. The other thing is not having enough accounts. You want to have built up accounts, meaning personal loan, credit card, maybe even the student loan if you have it. If you have a home, that also helps as well. When you don't have a good credit mix, the banks can't really tell whether they can trust you with a certain amount of money, a certain high amount of money, whether that's 5, 10, 15, 20, $50,000, whatever the case may be. They need to see that you've handled multiple types of accounts. Speaking of accounts, whenever you have credit cards, if your credit cards are, 1,000, maybe 2,000, whatever the case may be, when you have low limits like that, usually the banks don't want to give you such a high amount, especially if your cards are new. Like if they're not at least 2 years plus old, banks don't want to give out money that they can't trust you with if they haven't seen your track record. Many don't know that when you utilize your card, let's say you had a $5,000 card, if you only use $1,000, that actually gets reported. How much you use gets reported to the banks. And so when you're asking for a double increase, meaning from 5 to 10, they're like, well, you only use 1,000. Here's an extra 1,000 on top of that. So your increases might be small. And then just the last thing is when you have too many inquiries, banks are like, hey, you have 5 or 6 inquiries within the last 6 months. That lets us know that you are desperate for money. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to show up as desperate for anything, right? So when you have too many inquiries, that hurts your chances of getting approved for anything, whether that's increase or new lines of credit. Okay. So the first things first, we got to make sure that our credit account, our credit report is in line. That'll help make sure that when the banks see us applying, they say, oh, snap. Okay. He has everything in line. She has her name's looking right. Everything is matching up. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are and that your report speaks well of you. The second thing is, especially for a business, when your business is not set up properly, that's another red flag. You want to make sure that you don't have your home address. Now, since COVID has happened, a lot of people have been starting businesses at home. And so around that time, when it started, when COVID has started, the banks understood like, hey, people are starting their businesses at home. That's kind of a norm now. However, because we've opened up and, it's 2024, so everybody's back at work, everybody's operating. Some people are still working from home. But here's the thing. Banks still want to make sure that you're out there and getting it. So they don't want to really see your home address, right? So you have to make sure that you have a proper business address. You can get one from Opus or Regis, get an address, pay monthly for it. Make sure that it reports, on your business's profile, right? Also having a business phone number, not a cell phone style number. I'm talking about an 800 number. When businesses see that you have a business phone number, they want to take you seriously because now you are a business. You have your address, your business address, and you also have your business phone number. Okay. Next thing they like to see is your business website and your business email. They want to see that you actually have a website where people can go to, where you can create business, where you can create commerce, where you can create income, you can get leads and all that kind of stuff. They like to see that you actually have somewhere where people can go to create that business, right? And then the email, especially, they want to make sure that you look legit the entire way. They want to make sure that when someone goes to contact you, it's not at an @gmail.com email or at a yahoo.com email or at an AOL or whatever people are using nowadays. They want to make sure that it's a 123 at 123business.com type of email. That type of email will make sure that the banks know what it is, exactly what you do. Perfect example, I have Ace Credit Repair or at acecreditrepair.com as one of my emails, right? Because I have that email set up, that helps me to show that I have a legit business, that I have people that can reach out to this business and someone is actually there to respond, not just a Gmail. And speaking of name, this is another huge important thing. If your business name falls into the category of high risk businesses, we're talking about anything dealing with money, talk about banks, talking about real estate, talking about investments, talking about credit repair even. Yes, credit repair is a high risk industry. So banks don't generally like to give out money to those types of companies, trucking, logistics, that kind of thing. When your business name has this in the name, banks are like, hey, we don't want to give you much, or we don't want to give you anything at all. So your approach for this is you want to make sure that you have something that is generic, something that is very easy to understand, as simple, low risk. You could do consulting, you could do coaching, education, that kind of thing. Something simple that will help make sure that your business doesn't show up automatically as high risk. For me, I like doing enterprises or solutions or groups. If I said 123 solutions, or if I said ABC group, these are businesses that don't show super high risk, and it helps you to stand in a different light. And then definitely you have to make sure you have an LLC. It's easier you can get money as a sole proprietor, but it's definitely easier having an established business, especially with the state, right? And then well, not the last thing, excuse me. The number three, which is probably one of the biggest things that you have to pay attention to, is the relationship that you have with the banks. Now, I had a conversation with someone the other day. They were saying how they did not want to have multiple bank accounts. They didn't want to deal with it. They just want to stick with the one. Cool. To each their own. That's perfectly fine. However, when it comes time to get funding, guess what? You might need to reach out to other banks, right? You might need to reach out to another establishment. Here's why. Because just like how there's 3 different major credit reporting agencies, there's multiple banks that tap into each of these agencies, right? Now, there are some banks that only use one. There are some banks that'll use 2. There are some banks that'll use all 3 credit reporting agencies. And you need to know which banks do that. So that's the importance of building the banking relationship. When you go into the bank and you say, hey, I just want to get credit, they're going to look at you like, who are you? So instead of just applying, the best thing to do is get some accounts. We're talking personal checking, personal savings. We're also talking business checking if you can, business savings if you can, if they have it available. And then you apply for credit, especially if you're getting credit in your business. And this is definitely for those who want to get credit in your business. So it's super important. Make sure that you build a relationship. You have to have more than 1 or 2. If you want an effective increase or an effective application to get the high amounts, I'm talking about 15, 20, 50, up to $50,000 at one time, you need this to be in place. Okay. And then last but not least is applying. How you apply matters. Okay. When I first got started and I first applied, the card that really took me off was Discover, and I applied. I got $10,000. And then I went a month later. and I applied for a Citi card, and I only got 2,500. And I didn't understand the process. I didn't understand why. Now, where the bank pulls from, the credit reporting agencies, whether that's Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, excuse me, um, it matters knowing where the banks pull from, because that'll impact how you apply for the credit. So you want to make sure that you approach it strategically. You don't want to just start applying at random. Perfect example, for those who might not know, Capital One, they pull from all three credit reporting agencies. I don't want all three of mine being hit, right? And so I want to make sure that whenever I apply, I know where the bank pulls from. I want to know also, can I get multiple lines of credit from said bank if I use this one inquiry? This is how people can get, 15, 20, 30, sometimes 50 or 60,000 from one bank, from one pool, because they know exactly what credit reporting agency that bank uses. And so you want to make sure that whenever you're applying for credit, you look out for these four major obstacles, because if you don't come prepared, you will be let down. Even if you get a little bit of credit, it's still not maximizing what you can have. So let's, get as much as we can. Let's follow these steps. Like I said, I'll reiterate, making sure your credit is in order, making sure that your business is set up properly, making sure you build a relationship with the banks effectively, and that you apply correctly. You want to make sure that you're applying to these credit applications correctly, speaking to the people at the bank so that they can help you. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for staying. Make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting even more information. I want to make sure that I help you guys out when it comes to getting your credit fixed, getting your funding, so that way you can invest in your next. Until then, guys, I'll see you around. Thank you, and talk to you later.